So let's look ahead to Manchester City on Sunday. And joining us now is City fan Stephen McInerney. Stephen, welcome to Inside Gooners. How are you feeling after last night?
It was tumultuous. We made it hard work of it, but we're through. We're welcomed by Bayern or Real Madrid, so that's not the icing on the cake that we needed. But yeah, it was good to see City get the result after a pretty poor first 45 and turn it around, so I'm happy about it.
So the last time Arsenal played City, the Premier League landscape was very different. But do you still expect there to be a needle in this game on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a history between these two clubs now for the past few years, especially given the ferocious ending to the previous game. So I think Arsenal, understandably, look at Manchester City, Arteta with that connection as well, and lots of the players, of course, as a sort of a barometer of where they wanted to be or needed to be for such a long time. So that is still going to play on the players' minds. I'm expecting it to be a ferocious game. Not necessarily sure how good the quality will be because I think it might be a little bit too messy. But yeah, I think Arsenal and City, they understand each other so well. And I think there's a bit of bad blood there. And given the stories of each other's seasons, yeah, it could make the game quite memorable, I reckon.
Where exactly are Manchester City right now? Because they had that big result against Ipswich and everyone thought they were back. Then it was disappointing against PSG, the 4-2 in the Champions League. It's almost week to week with Manchester City. We're used to seeing them for a prolonged period, play week in, week out, play really well. Where exactly are they? Because even last night there were a few struggles as well.
I think City has sort of just found a lot of confidence back, but I think the issues that led to that sort of decline around the winter months, we're still pretty cold in it, so still into fair. But I think the issue that led to that was the midfield not really being capable. Now, I think we've had a few players back into form, you know, the likes of Foden and so on. And last night, of course, like John Stones was available, which helped massively. You know, Haaland scored a few goals. And I think because we've had some good results, the quality that we've got, you know, going forward has been enough to win a few games. But I think ultimately the situation that led to that is still there. Like, I think Guardiola came out after the game last night and was brutally honest when he said all the teams we've got to play, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, Brighton, you know, they're all so much better than us. Miles better, he said, on the transition. And I think that problem is down to Gundogan, Kovacic, Bernardo, De Bruyne, all being 30 plus, some of them very much in the twilight of their careers. So I think that's where City are at. You know, the form is okay, but I think there's quality there clearly still with City, but I think the midfield weaknesses are still very much there in the way that football's changed with so much aggression in midfield. So that's where we're at, you know. And when we played PSG, we struggled because their quality in midfield, and that's where, you know, City could come against Arsenal.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the transition side of things. I think PSG had a lot of speed, didn't they, on the day, and that they can move down the sides, and that's a challenge. I think defensive stability, I think it's improving with John Stones. Do you think you can cover enough in your back line with Guardiola, Stones, Akanji and Nunez? Is that going to be strong enough for you on the day, do you think?
We sort of played the treble system last night, and it sort of cast my mind back to Pete Kyle Walker, you know, Diaz, Ake there, and I realised it's not quite as solid, if I'm being honest, these days. It was a horrible blast of nostalgia, but there is quality there, obviously. You know, John Stones was remarkable last night. He doesn't play much, but when he does play, he just shows just how good he absolutely is. Akanji is a treble when he can be absolutely brilliant. He's always been up and down because of injuries and fitness. If we'd had Diaz and Ake available for this, my confidence levels would be vastly higher. Yeah. Fact of the matter is, we've got a guy who signed as a midfielder, played there as a left winger, and now is a makeshift right back, playing at right back. Nunes good going forward, but as we saw for the goal for Bruges last night, can't defend the toffee, that guy, unfortunately. And then Vardiel likes to go forward, so the defence isn't strong. It just isn't. There's some quality there, but not necessarily in the way that would align to a solid defence. Teams score against us. Everyone scores against us. So I'd be surprised if Arsenal don't. And we're not particularly good at defending crosses or defending the box either. I saw some stats and we're the worst in the country by some way, actually. So that's where my concerns are. A lot of it comes from the midfield being too weak ahead of it. You know, like they just don't stop counters. So you've got a whole forward line running at the back line as opposed to the midfield covering. So that's where the issues are. Once again, if the injuries weren't there with Ake and Diaz, and, you know, if Walker hadn't disappeared mid-season and was anything close to his best, it might be a different story. But it is what it is, you know. We signed the young lads to the new signings, and I'm not going to cry over it. We've done all right over the past few years, so I'm pretty relaxed. But we'll see how he goes against Arsenal.
Clive, while Stephen is here, coming into this game as favourites, we are Arsenal, which isn't actually normal against City. Yeah, it's not usually normal, but will we see a slightly different approach to the cagey games that we've recently played with City?
No, both coaches respect spaces on the pitch. They will control central areas. I think City did something useful with their fullbacks. They're pushing them on. And they're going to them sometime off first phase. I'm thinking, OK, I'm looking at those spaces in behind those fullbacks really with my eyes bright and saying, can we get in there? But also, they're going to defend by distances, by staying close together and making sure if we do turn the ball over, they can win it back. But we've got to be able to get out quickly, get out of the central areas, out to wide areas and travel. I'm not buying it, mate. City are a good side. They're a good side and they don't like Arsenal. They're going to put on their Sunday best for us. I'm not buying it. It's going to be a tight game.
Yeah, on that fullbacks, I think tactically they're taking a lot of risks at the moment. With the two fullbacks playing high, they've effectively got 5 up front. With the 2 City midfielders in between the centre-halves. And they're slow.
Yeah.
And that is the area from turnovers where Arsenal can really hurt them in this game. So, yeah, look, we'll see how it pans out.
Darren, Arsenal haven't lost to City in the past 4 meetings. Does that give you confidence?
Yeah, it does, but again, it's City. You just don't know what you're going to get. I thought tactically Arsenal was spot on when they obviously 10 men behind the ball made it really difficult for them. And you always remember what happened that last game, and I think for Arsenal players, I remember how that game ended, Haaland's behaviour, the way that he was kind of throwing himself about the pitch. I think you remember that as players, and ultimately, even though you don't need that added incentive, it's always going to be there because you're going to be looking at me in that tunnel thinking, OK, I remember what you did, what you were saying. So just from that standpoint alone, I expect Arsenal to go out there, start really fast, put them on the back foot. And I think Arsenal have got more energy than Manchester City. Yes, Manchester City have got technically very, very good players, but they are above 30, some of these players, Kovacic, Gundogan, De Bruyne, to play 2 intense games. Because this Club Brugge game, even though they won it, it took everything last bit out of them to get over the line to make sure they qualified for the latter stages. Arsenal almost, I won't say coasted past Girona, but they were more conserved rather than Manchester City, and that might play its part as well.
Stephen, back to you. Does this game mean a lot to you as a fan?
Yeah, it's City versus Arsenal. Absolutely, it does. I think it's weird to sit here and say this from the start of the season that we had, but our expectations have shifted, and now it's a race for the top 4 for City. You know, we've got a horrible bunch of fixtures coming up. We've just a lot of very good sides. Once again, Liverpool, Newcastle. You know, we can laugh at Spurs, but for us, that's a big game. We always struggle against them. We're on the right audience to laugh at Spurs there, aren't I? Let's be honest.
We always enjoy that one.
Brighton as well. So it's a game that if we can get anything from Arsenal, you know, given the run of games we've got, it'd be huge for us because it's such a tight race for that top 4 these days. And City, the wheels fell off. So we're just sort of rescuing the season we can and trying to wait for Champions League football. And it's a game with that needle there now and that history there. So yeah, I'm absolutely up for it. My expectations change by the minute depending on what lineup I think Pep's going to conjure up. But yeah, there's a huge impact on our season potentially from this game. It won't decide it, but it definitely could help it. So I can't wait for it.
Oh, how times change. How times change. We can get something off of Arsenal, we'll be happy. I mean, I'd love to hear
the league, though, after all
I'd love to hear that. Stephen, I've just got one quick question. One quick question, Stephen, before you go. On Arsenal, what is it about Arsenal that makes you as a City fan nervous ahead of this game? Whether it's tactically and individual, what is it that you're thinking, I'm not sure about this?
Well, they're just the better side from us right now. I think structurally you're much more sound, you know, and City's wheels have fallen off. As I said, the legs have gone, and Rodri was sort of papering over probably the age, you know, of the midfield, and De Bruyne has slowed down a little bit, and so on. Whereas I look at Arsenal's midfield, you know, you've got Odegaard and you've got Declan Rice and Partey. These guys can all run. You know, these guys are very much, if not at their peak, very close. They probably are at their peak, you know. So there's a lot more quality there. The only issue for Arsenal these days is I don't think you've got many killers up front. Doesn't mean you can't score goals, but I look at the quality the other sides have around him. I think Arsenal don't quite, without Saka there in particular. This is why Ollie Watkins would make a lot of sense for Arsenal, someone like that, because, you know, I tried to tell Arsenal fans when they sold Gabriel Jesus, great player, but yet that man ain't a killer in front of goal, and that's maybe what Arsenal lack, you know. So I think Arsenal have to win. I really believe they have to, because if they don't in this one, I think it'll be a big mental blow.
And I think we absolutely deserve to win. So thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us. Enjoy the game on Sunday. I really genuinely can't say good luck this time.
I wouldn't always push it back to you either. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. You two have a terrible continuing season. And now let's move on very quickly to the title race. I think we are still in it. Some people might say we're not still in it. Interested to see what you think. But Liverpool have Bournemouth on Saturday. Are we hopeful?
I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I've been so focused on the City game, and I've been so focused on the City, the Newcastle, and getting a 10-day break. Because I think if we do something in the transfer window, and then we get to that, if we beat City, Newcastle, I'm not worried. But I want to get to a point where we can rest and reset and regenerate. If we beat City and we're still close-ish, I'm with Adrian. I'm not giving up on this season at all. You know, so Liverpool, Bournemouth. I'd forgotten about that game. Bournemouth are quite good. It may not be the best time to walk into their ground, right? So, but we'll see what happens. We've got to do our job first. So.
Yeah. No, it's a big weekend, definitely, because Bournemouth are capable of beating Liverpool. But what will happen there will happen. I looked at that. I've done a piece on Bournemouth, and you know they caused Liverpool a lot of problems at Anfield earlier on in the season, even though they lost the game. So yeah, they could do something. We got to worry about our business. I'm with Stephen, actually. I think that this is kind of a must-win for Arsenal. And I expect a very aggressive approach from us. We're going to be hostile. I think we've got to be careful not to press too much, too high. You saw what happened to Chelsea, where they went high on City and they flipped it over the top to Haaland. Of course, we've got Saliba who can handle 1v1s with Haaland. You don't want too many of those per game. So I think we might let them come on to us, and then it's about bang. Can we win the ball? Can we hurt them on the counter, on the turnover? And it's something that Arsenal have actually not done brilliantly this season. We've had 13 shots from fast breaks this season. Liverpool have had 44 because we mainly have control of the game. But I think we can be really efficient from those situations. We've just got to let them come on to us, win it, and then go and hurt them.
No, I agree. I think I'm all about the message. If Arsenal were to beat Manchester City, not only would that send the message to the rest of the league, but certainly Liverpool. I mean, as Adrian, the guys were saying there, we can't take... We don't know what's going to happen there. Bournemouth might get a result, they might not. But if Arsenal were to beat City, because I'm sure a lot of people, Liverpool included, would look at that and go, I don't know if Arsenal have got what it takes to get past City, regardless of what state City are in. If Arsenal do go and do that, then all of a sudden now it sends a huge message to the rest of the league.